Your Excellencies, friends. I have a subject which is quite vast, but the 13 or 15 minutes we got is more than sufficient for explaining it to you because I got a single unitary point to put across to you. I'll also follow a staccato presentation so that after all of you will be getting this transcription of my presentation. My topic is displacement by sea level rise, that is when human system gets displaced. I'm not using the word refugee here for certain specific reasons. Are we late? That is my question. We can carry out this study by the normal research methodological ways or executive research methodology, which is not followed in research. But decision makers will have to use biomodels or executive research methodology because the time available for them for making decision is very short. In a governmental system like India, it's only 5 years here to make decisions to win or lose. Now here, when you look at this particular statement, I can explain this, but it will take a lot of time. It only shows that destruction is actually not what we think. It has got a cause and effect principle behind it. A cause follows the gradient. Effect actually got a half-life like a nuclear mineral or material. And this half-life goes very fast and effect becomes a cause. We will find it all over. There is nothing known as cause and effect. There's only cause, cause, cause. So if you look from this point of view and the psychology of invention, which ultimately leads to destruction, in a 1945 book, I have read it in my college and I have used it many places. In a living system, please don't get unduly worried about destruction because it is by default. We all have to die. Unless you master the art of death, you can't create life. Now this is Storm Harvey, and you can see this board there. If you look at it very carefully, God at work. I took this picture from a helicopter. Within 3 months, this happened. You can see how the entire land mass became a seesaw. So this can happen to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Here, a sea level rise, when you explain, is an increase in the volume of water in the world's oceans, resulting in an increase in global mean sea level, GSML. Sea level rise is usually attributed to global climate change by thermal expansion of the water in the oceans and by melting of ice sheets and glaciers on land. It's a hypothesis, actually. Other factors include tectonic effects, subsidence of the land, tides, recurrent storms, etc. Nobody has brought in the gravity theory also here. Sea level rise is expected to continue for centuries. It's a continuous process. My question to you, or rather to myself, is climate change the cause of sea level rise, or sea level rise the cause of climate change? Think about it. In January 2017, NOAA, the American Agency for Oceanography, report suggests a range of GMSL 0.3 to 2.5 meter during 21st century. It should be quite worrying for my friends Mansoor and Oli can stick to my home. Now, if you don't have much faith in NOAA, then you can ask Noah. He knows. He will make the ark. But let's go back here. Please understand the world has been rebooting once a while. And if you get into the crossfire, when God is at work, you will lose your life and property. Coast Guard perhaps can help you. When the time is short, I must stick to the conclusion first. An introduction will come later if time permits. This is the point I want to put across to you, all of you gentlemen who are here and when you are talking about it. There is no national or international regime to govern the issues of people displaced by sea level rise. This has proven in an Auckland court in 2013, which New Zealand Supreme Court has upheld because a Kiribati went and asked for asylum because his house went underwater in Kiribati Island. Now, in the absence of a regulated system, there can be chaos in the world with collateral issues in future. I'm not worried about people getting drowned. I'm worried about the collateral issues. There can be thousands of them. We'll come to that. The law of the sea is an unfinished model of international law. This has been told yesterday by Dr. Bimal Patel also. But there are much more to it. One of the things which I would like to include about this statement is that it is laced with the Cold War sociology. I will not say psychology. The territorial waters, if you know the history of UNCLOS and what went behind the doors, you will find the nuclear submarines played a main role in deciding the territorial waters limit. Look into it because everything can be a hypothesis, I can be wrong. So, a problem can be seen from the angle of hypothesis when you're doing hypothesis testing. Many in the world will be displaced internally and externally due to sea level rise that's already on. There are no response regimes to face the situation. That is the problem. We won't look at this hypothesis. Quite a few of them I have, and you can read this much later. Here I am giving another hypothesis called UNCLOS. It's an expert law, but it is asynchronous with sea level rise. Hence incomplete to meet the requirements of the world inundated by ocean. We'll skip that too. Now let's look at the collateral issues. There can be many things that's going to come. Increase in human smuggling and trafficking. This is what is worrying me. This human smuggling and trafficking is the world's second largest business. Many gentlemen are involved in it. And if I am a human trafficker, I'll be already making my business model for reviewing it. Migration under the guise of displaced people, people going from one country to another which they think is better than their own country, ethnic issues, demographic issues, geo-property issues, economic issues and environmental issues, and many others. There can be thousands of them, and these issues, these collaterals will not be identical for the nations. In fact, what India will have is not exactly what Maldives will have for the same cost. The effects will be different. So national governments have to see these things, how it's going to affect them. Remember, refugees are a big problem all over the world. But these are the new kind of people who are going to come in. Displaced people, because the court has decided they are not refugees. So overall conclusion is that the issue is factual, recommendations are believed to be pragmatic, therefore the matter is for consideration of governments in international organizations and international organizations. The simple case of few islanders coming over to look at their house, whether the water has receded or not. The water will not recede. Tsunami is an example. It's a biomodel. I call it a biomodel. Looking at a tsunami, you can model your actions for sea level rise. The difference is that sea level rise will remain there. It will not go back. I know how Maldives were looking like when I was the operations director and that tsunami came up. It's frightening. These are the Kiribatians who are gone 10 years later, back to their home, but they found the water has not gone back, not receded. These are my references, and the topmost one is the Auckland court case, the Supreme Court of New Zealand, landmark judgment, and that's a warning. We cannot bring them under refugee status. this. Then what do we do? Even refugees are a problem. So what do we do with the displaced people? This is going to happen, and demographic density will increase. It won't be similar to the past ice age. Remember, ice age comes after flooding. 2012 there's a movie. If you see that, you'll find flooding is not going to stay. It's not a tropical climate going to be. It's going to be like the ice age 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of a thing, like those movies, animated movies which you have seen. It's been interesting. Very interesting to go through all these things in life. And I have a lot of reference points. This is basically made for Finn's research team. I just thought, let me make it this way so they can use it. Concluded. Thank you very much. And this, if it is a slot machine, I want to prize, I think.